Alright, so there's our sledgehammer. Let's go ahead and grab it. So we grab it. As you can see, there was a little icon in the bottom right showing us that we grabbed it. If we go to tab, we can see our sledgehammer in our inventory right here. And now I'm going to go ahead and select the sledgehammer from my inventory. I'm going to walk up to the door and then click, and boom, there goes the door. We smash the door open and hey guys, it's Techo Freak here, and welcome to episode 49 of my custom story creation tutorial for Amnesia Rebirth. And today we're going to talk about custom item pickups. So what we're going to do is we're going to take any regular entity in the game and convert it into a pickup item so that it goes into like our inventory here, and then we can like select it and then like use it on doors or whatever you could possibly want. So that's a really good idea, and the reason I'm here in the game is because I want to demonstrate something we set up in Puzzles Part 1. I'll put links in the description for everything, but we pretty much scripted a hammer here, this sledgehammer here. And when we go over to the what I call it the med bay, like the med area, the medical area, and when you hit it hard enough on the door, it breaks the door. So light taps, nothing. But if I swing it really hard, then I'll get it to break. I'm not quite getting a good angle here, but try it again. And there it goes. So it broke and everything. Pretty cool thing that we did, but it might not always be so intuitive to do something like this, because the player has to think that they have to go get the hammer and then use it. Of course, we did like a sketchbook thing where we can like instruct the player like, oh, we should go look for a hammer, and you'd have to kind of help the player out. But it'd be more intuitive for the player to just pick up the hammer. It'd be like right in his inventory, and then you can select it from your inventory and click on the door and smash it, kind of like if it were like a key or something. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about how we can make any item in our any entity in the game pretty much be a pickup item that goes in your inventory. So let's go ahead and start talking about that now. So I'm going to just go ahead and alt tab out of the game here. And what we're going to do is pretty much work on the icon that's going to be in our inventory first. So I have here the directory for my custom story folder. And in here, I downloaded a photo, and I got it from the internet. So you can see it's a sledgehammer photo that I downloaded. And it's just some random photo that I found online, nothing crazy or anything like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to convert it to be an inventory item. So first thing we need to know is what the size of this file is. If we go into properties and details, you can see it's a 418 by 640 photo. The game does shrink any images you have to try and fit it in the tile if you do provide an image that's a larger size. Although to avoid any kind of issues with your images and stuff like that, I'd recommend you just create a new image that's 256 by 256 and then put the hammer picture in it however you want. So that's what we're going to do first. So let's go ahead and first check out the root directory of the Amnesia Rebirth folder here. And I just want to show you guys that the developers, I've shown this before, but I'll cover it again. The developers have a folder called graphics with a folder called inventory and then another folder called items here. And these are all the inventory items here. And you can see that they're here. And if we check the dimensions of these, you'll also see that they're 256 by 256. So we're going to go ahead and copy the same size for these photos here that they have here. And we're going to copy the same folder path. We're going to say graphics, inventory, and items. Technically, you don't have to do the complete path as long as it's in your resources. But I like, whenever possible, I like to try and follow the same like style that the developers do as well. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our custom story folder here. And here we are, and we're going to go ahead and create that folder. So we already have a graphics folder from working on our sketchbook and our main menu and stuff. So we already have a graphics folder. Make sure, for those that haven't added a graphics folder yet, make sure you add the graphics folder to your resources folder, your resources config file here, and make sure that add subders is set to true. That way the game will look in your custom in these folders for any assets that it might need. So make sure that is added there. So we're going to go ahead and create these folders here. So we're going to say inventory, and then we're going to go ahead and create a new folder in here called items. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save my new image in here. So I'm going to go back to the root directory of my custom story folder here, and we're going to go ahead and open up this hammer now with GIMP. I've used GIMP in the past in this series and everything, and it's a free image editor. I highly recommend it for those that don't have an image editor. Just to follow, and if you haven't had it, you don't have an image editor installed or never used one, this might be a good one to use, since you can follow along with what I'm doing in the episode. But pretty much just open up the image, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say new. I'm going to say new, and I'm going to do new here. We're going to create a new image, and we're going to create it as 256 by 256 here, and we're going to hit OK. And here's our new image. We'll go ahead and disable the background there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control A and then Control C to copy the sledgehammer here. Then I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to apply the paste here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and scale this down to fit in the frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale down the highest number here. So 650 is the highest dimension here. I'm going to scale that down to 256, and I'm going to hit scale. So now it'll fit perfectly in the box here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it. So I'm going to do layer, and I'm going to do transform, and I'll do arbitrary rotation here. And then we'll just rotate it maybe like that. Looks pretty good. So we'll hit rotate, and then we'll just kind of fit it in the frame here perfectly. So all right, and now what I'm going to do is export it as a PNG. So we're going to hit File, Export As, and then just make sure you get to the root directory of your custom story folder. And I'm going to go ahead and go into Graphics, Inventory, and Items, the folder we created, and I'm going to go ahead and export it here. I'll just go ahead and call it hammer.png. We'll hit export here, and I'll just leave all the defaults for the PNG. And now we have a folder, we have our image exported here. Again, inventory, items, and there's our hammer exported. And if we go to the properties, we can see that it is 256 by 256, which is perfect. That's what we wanted. But this is in PNG format. So you can use it in PNG format, but the devs have it in DDS format. I'm not exactly sure the reason that they use DDS format. Perhaps it just works better with their game engine or something. So we're going to keep it consistent, and we're going to convert this to DDS format. So I'm going to go ahead and just open it back up with GIMP. The PNG that we just exported. I didn't want to do it from here because if we export as DDS from here, you have to select the layer, and the layer is not 256 by 256. This one is whatever we had is set to 227 by 290. So I just opened the exported PNG, which is 256 by 256, as you can see, and then we'll go ahead and hit File, Export As, and then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and hit Select File Extension here, File Type by Extension, and we'll select DDS here and make sure it's set to hammer.dds, and we'll hit Export. And for this, what I usually do is I do generate bitmaps. I leave format default, compression none, and the selected layer, which is this one right here, is the one that will get exported. So that's exactly what we want. And I'll go ahead and hit export here. And now I should have exported. And if we look in here, now we have a DDS file. So you can see it's a .dds. And it's also 256 by 256. It hasn't populated any of the image data yet, but it's all ready to start using it now. So we're gonna go ahead and close it, and I'll just discard changes. But you can save the project if you feel like it. And we don't really need this PNG one, but I'll leave it here. We're gonna specify the .dds here when we actually add the item. So now that we have that done, let's talk about how we can actually create the pickup entity, the actual entity item that's going to be a pickup. So we're going to go ahead and open up our level editor here. And what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in over here on our hammer. So this is the hammer we have, like the one that we can grab and move around and stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a new entity and change the settings of the hammer to be a pickup item. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this, put it here. Of course, you can go into entities and you can use any entity you want. You don't have to pick it doesn't have to be this one, but I want it to be a Sledgehammer, of course, because it just makes sense with my custom story. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and hit this plus right here, and we're going to create a new entity file using the Sledgehammer as our template pretty much. So we'll hit plus here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and zoom in here, and you can see this is the hammer, so that's the mesh right there, and then this is the body for the Sledgehammer. We don't really have to edit anything about the hammer here. What's important here is going into the entity settings right here and going into class, and we're going to change the class of item that it is. So right now it's a prop grab, and that makes perfect sense because a Sledgehammer you can pick up and you can grab it and move it around and stuff, but we want it to be a prop pickup, like a key. A key is a prop pickup. So we're going to scroll down until we find prop pickup. So let's go ahead and go down, and right there, prop pickup. And then what we're going to do is we can change any of these settings. If any of these settings interest you, you can go ahead and change them here. Physics, the health of the item, if you have a custom script file. I'm not going to talk too much details about this, but you can change anything about the aspects of the item if you were to break it. This is the pickup section, so these settings will be, or a few of these settings will be available in once you put it in your level editor, but not all of them. So if you did want to change any of these, you can do so here. But you know, for example, the item type we'll talk about when we get to the level editor, but this is just the item type that it is. We could put like hammer once we create the hammer in our config. So I'll skip these two, but content level, if it stored any kind of liquid or something, this tells you how much it can hold of a liquid, but this is just -1 because we are not going to be putting any liquids or anything inside of it. Content color, and then it's the oil, the color of the oil. If it uses oil, only need one. So if there's only one of this item, you'll never need more than one. If a player ever finds another one, it pretty much won't be added into the inventory. It'll just be one item. Put away after, if the player should like put the item back into their pockets or something like that. Animation to play when this item is picked up. If you want to play an animation, you can do so here. And pick up sound. This is probably one you might want to put here if you want to have a pickup sound. But I think otherwise, if you don't specify one, it'll just be the default pickup sound. So I won't specify anything there. So I won't actually change any of this information. And then you have other ones, like if it's me or if it uses a fullness animation. But we're not using we're not changing any of that stuff. We're just gonna change it to the class pickup. And that's pretty much it. So now we're going to go ahead and hit File, Save As, and we want to save a new version of this entity. And we're going to go ahead and go back. We're going to go back and we're going to go into our custom story folder. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go into our entities folder. If you don't have an entities folder, make sure you do the same thing as graphics. You create the entities folder and you add it to your resources. And then we're going to go ahead and go into entities, and we're just going to throw it in here. We're going to say, we're going to call it hammer pickup. So it makes sense. It's a hammer and and you can pick it up, or you could call it Sledgehammer pickup or whatever you want, but hammer pickup. And we're going to save it into our entities folder. Maybe I'll create a new folder here actually, and I'll call it pickup. So we know it's like a pickup entity or something. And we'll save it right here, hammer pickup. So we'll hit save. And if we go back to our custom story folder, you can see if we go into entities, you'll see our folder pickup, and you'll see our hammer pickup item, the one that we just created. So we shouldn't need this anymore. So I'll go ahead and minimize it. I will leave the other Sledgehammer here, just because I don't know if I want to keep one or the other just yet. So we'll leave this one here. And then what we're going to do is for the second hammer, the duplicated hammer that we have here, we're going to go ahead and hit the dots right here, dot, dot, dot. And we're going to go ahead and navigate to our custom story folder again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead in our entities folder, our pickup folder, and then we're going to go ahead and select our new entity that we just made, hammer pickup.ent. And now if you notice, if we go to the entity section here, now we have the pickup category here, which we didn't have before. If we go to the regular hammer, the default hammer, you can see there is no pickup section for this. So we've converted the class to be a pickup item. So it's going to be just like a key or anything like that. And from here, if you've watched, I think it was episode 26 and 27, I'll put the links in the description. You can pretty much add this as any regular item with a description and everything. So that's what we're going to do now. So what we're going to do is create an item type and stuff. And this part of it is actually nothing new. Like I said, this is just like creating a key at this point. But we will go through it as well for those that might have not seen it. And again, I'll put links in the description for those videos if you want a more detailed walkthrough of the inventory items. So now let's go ahead and create the item type for this hammer. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up our CodeLite application. And inside of our config file here, you can see we have a config file in our custom story folder. We have our inventory.cfg file. I copied this from the developers and pasted it inside of my config folder here. I did talk about that in the episode about keys. So if you need to know how to do that, you can look there. But I just copied that inventory.cfg from the developers config folder and pasted it into my config folder. And we created this section here for custom entries. Like this is just a comment here. This doesn't actually run any code. This is just like putting slashes in here, like my scripts and stuff, putting slashes as a comment. It's not actually registered by the game. And then here is where we put our storage key for the key episode. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to just copy this storage key entry that we have right here. And we're going to go ahead and paste it right underneath inside of our custom entries section. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and give this a name. So what do we want the ID for our hammer to be? So let's just call it hammer. We'll just call it straight hammer. And then the icon is the icon in your inventory that we wanted to use. Remember, we just created one here and we put it in our inventory folder here. We have a PNG and a .dds. We want to specify the .dds specifically. So what we're going to do is we're going to do hammer.dds. So it's a good idea to put the file extension here, because if there's another entity with another image called hammer somewhere in the files, in the dev files or something, it might actually use theirs instead of yours. So make sure you put the file extension there. And then use the unworld is whether or not you can use it in the world. So we want that to be true. And then what we're going to do, we have our can use and our on use function callbacks here. So what we're going to do is we're going to rename these. We have these set to be can use storage key, can use or on use storage key. We're just going to rename them and we'll just say can use hammer and we'll say on use hammer. So same business here. And now we can go ahead and add those functions as well to our script. Before that though, I want to put its item title and description. So we're going to go into the english.lang file right here, and we have our section here for inventory. That's where we have the description for the storage key and the description for our custom matchbook that we did an example of. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new section right here. And we're going to go ahead and copy one of these here. So I'll copy the storage key one. And I'll call this one capital H hammer. It has to match the ID that we put right here. So it has to match that. And then same thing here. You have to put that right here. And then it has to be underscore DESC, just like that. And then we can actually put the info here. So we're going to just say Sledgehammer for the name of the item. And for the description, I guess we'll say what should we say? Let's say I might be able to use this to break down a door. Something descriptive that'll give the player a hint as to what we want to do. So that's pretty good. So I might be able to use this to break down a door. And then now we have our entry there. We'll go ahead and use it because we have it with the same ID name in our inventory.cfg. So now let's go ahead and create these callbacks here. So we go to the starting room script here. This is the script from my map. I'm going to scroll down all the way to the bottom because that's where I put this stuff here. So I've made a section here just called custom item functions, just so I know what I put in here. And this has the code we wrote for the door. We're going to actually just reuse this and write our own code for this specific item, their hammer. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to copy, we'll go ahead and copy this whole section here, and I'll paste it right below here. And then what we want to do is rename the stuff accordingly. So I want this to be hammer. And again, I'll put all this stuff in the description, all the code I wrote today in the description if you want to go over there and get the code from there. So first, I'm going to change the function names here to the correct one. It's whatever we specified in the inventory.cfg here. Can use hammer, on use hammer. So can use hammer, on use hammer. And then for can use, we have to specify where we can use this hammer. So if we go to our level editor here, we want to be able to use it on this door right here to break down the door. And this door is called med door. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And in here, we specify two doors here for the keys. We only want one door for our hammer. So we're going to clear out the other door here, and we're going to paste right in here med door. So if let me just make sure. So if the entity that the player is trying to use this on is equal to med door, then this will return true, which then we'll call this on use hammer function here, which we can run some stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and kind of clear out some of this stuff. We don't really need to specify here if this is med door, but I'll just leave it because it's never bad to be extra safe here. But if the entity we are using this on is called med door, then we're gonna go ahead and break the door, right? If you recall from the hammer episode, we did use this function right here, prop set health med door equal to 0, pretty much equal to 0. So we're gonna just copy that. So I'm gonna just go ahead and copy that and paste it down here. So we're gonna go into our med door here, and we're gonna go ahead and paste that in there. So so we're almost done here. Actually, you know what? I will remove this if statement here. I think we'll just leave it like this. Not necessary, because this is only gonna run if this returns true. So we already know it's going to be med door. If we had multiple doors that we're going to use to break it, then we use if statements. But I think I'll leave it without the if statement here, although it wouldn't really hurt to have it there. But yeah, so what we want to do is if the door is med door and we know we can use it, then we'll call the onUse hammer function, which will then set the door's health, med door, to be 0. And then what we want to do is we want to remove, at least I want to remove the hammer from the player's inventory. If you wanted to keep it in the player's inventory, you don't have to do this step. But I want to remove it from the player's inventory. So what I'm going to do is we can actually copy another line of code here from here, which is item removed from inventory here. So I'm going to copy this here, and we're calling the function item underscore removed from inventory. And then we're getting the first item type in the player's inventory that has the name as item type, which is whatever item is being called in this function here. So of course you're using the hammer, so we know that the item type is gonna be hammer here. So we just put that in right there, and then yeah, so we get the first item type in the inventory with the name as item type, which is going to be hammer, and then we call the function to remove it from the player's inventory, which is item removed from inventory, and we'll remove it from the inventory. So that will remove the hammer from the player's inventory once they use it for the once they use it on the door. So again, if the player is trying to use it on the door, it will go ahead and return this to be true. And then once the player does use it on the door, we go ahead and set the health of the door to 0, so it breaks. And then we go ahead and remove the hammer from the player's inventory. So And that's all coded up properly. So at this point, we're pretty much done. We've created the hammer icon. We created our custom entity pickup. We went ahead and added the callbacks. We added the entry in the lang file here, and we're pretty much all set. Let me just make sure we have our map saved here, which doesn't look like I do. So go ahead and save that up. And at this point, we can go ahead and open up our game here. So we'll open up the game and we can go ahead and actually test this out now. So let's go ahead and refresh the game by hitting F5 on my keyboard, and the level is reset. So we're gonna go ahead and open up this door here. Actually, this is the med door. This is the one we're gonna break. So we're gonna come over here to the sledgehammer door. All right, so there's our sledgehammer. Let's go ahead and grab it. So we actually didn't set an item type here, so let's go ahead and set an item type. I almost forgot. So we want to go ahead and select it here in our level. And remember, we have to put an item type, and the item type is whatever you assigned it to be right here, the item ID. So it's hammer with a capital H. It is case sensitive, so make sure you get that right. Hammer with a capital H. And we will hit save. So now we should be able to grab it now. So let's go ahead and open up our custom story again. All right, and we're gonna have to refresh one more time. So here it goes. All right, so there's our sledgehammer. Let's go ahead and grab it. So we grab it. As you can see, there was a little icon in the bottom right showing us that we grabbed it. If we go to tab, we can see our sledgehammer in our inventory right here, and it says if we hover over sledgehammer, I may be able to use this to break down a door. So we'll go ahead and click it, and you can see like the icon for the hammer shows up and everything. Of course, we can't use it on just any door. It was specifically the med door. So let's go ahead and walk over there. And now I'm going to go ahead and select the sledgehammer from my inventory. I'm going to walk up to the door and then click, and boom, there goes the door. We smash the door open, and we look in our inventory, the sledgehammer is gone. So that's gonna do it for today's episode, guys. Pretty fun stuff to do this pickup stuff. We're finally starting to touch up a little bit more on like custom entities and stuff. I do want to talk about that in the coming episodes, more about custom like entities and items and stuff like that. So so I'm gonna wrap up the episode here, guys. In the next episode, I think we're gonna talk about how we can combine items in our inventory. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about inventory stuff. So with that, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Leave a like if you did. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and stay subscribed. And if you have anything on your mind, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know what's going on. I hope you guys have a great day. Have a good one, guys. Bye.